Hey, good morning. It's Tom Batman Ziegelbauer, and today we have a build guide for a challenge with Perry the Pig for the Rotmind um, unique here that came out in 0.9 for last Epoch. So this build is really built around this particular unique. So a couple of things on it, plus 29 poison damage for damage over time spells, plus 1 to those damage over time spells, 17% less damage over time taken. That's not as important for this build. 1% of poison damage leaves just health. That is important for this. And then 70% increased area is a little bit. So this build is really focused on the poison side and the damage over time side of things, and I'll walk you through some of the other pieces of it that kind of flesh out this build. This particular unique, and I'll probably put in two if I were to build this thing fully out for its plus 1 to poison spells, so synergy with this. And then also the plus 3 to attributes is pretty darn nice, along with the 34% increased poison damage and the plus 33 chance to poison on spell hit. So again, this is really a poison damage over time build using this particular unique. Down here, eventually taking this with the LP and then blending some stuff in, mainly for the cursed spellcast speed. This one rolled a little lower. However, if you take a look at the curse damage on here, plus 45% is pretty good. So we spam the plague, a spirit plague, over and over and over on this build, and you'll see that through the playthrough. And then last unique on here is this atrophy, and we're mainly taking this for the plus 22 penetration against all resistances for damage over time. So damage over time, damage over time, damage over time. We have damage over time on a lot of our gear. The other thing with this, so we can fire off the Death Seal and the Wandering Spirits over and over and over, is cooldown reduction. So we have cooldown reduction on, or cooldown recovery speed on our belts and our boots. And then we also eventually will put this on the helmet with these particular immortal crowns. Has it already as a prefix there for increased cooldown. So I have two of these that are just sitting until I get to level 75. And then yeah, that's about it. So the build running through it really is only dependent upon this. Everything else just kind of adds upon it. This comes into play really so it doesn't feel horrible, and yeah, the playstyle really comes into its own about level 50 when you get that last slot, skill slot, then which the last one I ended up taking was the Death Seal. So a couple of things inside of the skills to point out, which and passives that make this kind of unique. I'll go through the passives first. So on the Lich side of things, taking this note of Harvested Legions, this is super helpful for damage and for clear, as when these get spawned out, these three, there's a synergy between this and one of the skills that adds a ton of damage then. So that's pretty nice. So going into the skills, then we'll just go through them. So this particular one I have taken to where instead of doing the burst of several projectiles, um, I make it significantly larger, but it's only one, as when you cast this, it's not going to be the shotgun approach. It's more targeted there, and I've seen people spec into this in order to also increase the validity of this. This is getting procced by one of our other skills, actually Death Seal, when we do it. So we could go into that, and I can show you that too. Um, and then this is kind of a utility skill that every now and then I'll manually fire off, but again, it gets fired off by this Death Seal as it's going. We'll show you that here. So this is a notable node here for this interval is every 1.5 seconds, and then you release Hungering Souls more frequently, so I've increased the frequency on that in order to be able to have that proc more often and not have to manually touch that. All right, and then this is our main skill that we just spam over and over and over again. Some notables, the slow, and then also the enfeeblement. So frailty stacks being stacked, having the plague bearer on here, which then allows this to deal damage over time and spreads between enemies. Through this, you'll see that happen. And then just increase poison damage over time on this. And then poison stacks per cast is 3. All right, this is a fun one. I've taken a little bit different approach on this, I think. So one, we're turning all of the necrotic damage into poison, so then we get the poison tag on this, and then it gets that +1. If I have 2 rings, then it's going to get +2. And then this one here, this is just a quality of life thing that I've put in here because I don't like it to just create the wandering spirits around me. I would prefer them, in fact, to be targeted so I can just be a long ways away, fire it off to where my cursor is at, and it's going off there. The other notable thing that I'm doing in here, of course, as much cooldown recovery speed as we can. And then as we're coming down the tree over here, it's allowing these wandering spirits to then fire off the spectral puruscence, however that's said, in order to be able to fire them off from a distance. So it's not just creating the damage by them wandering through as they're going through there. So, and then this, I don't think there's really anything notable except the poison chance on Pestilence on the Reaper form itself. I did take some cooldown, or I may take some cooldown reduction in order to be able to spam Reap as a travel skill here. Again, I built this mainly just for this contest, or this this build session on using that Rotmind. I don't know if I'm going to push this a little bit further here, moving on. Yeah, and we talked about that still. So how about we just get into the gameplay and show you how all this stuff works. So I built this in a day, and I'm really new to last Epoch. I am more of a long-term Path of Exile person, and shout out to Ziggy D, who had done a video on last Epoch. I love this game. I am so addicted. So we'll just run an echo here really quick, and I can show you how this all works. All right, so we don't have any of those warriors out yet. so our damage isn't as high as it could be. So you'll see though, as soon as I turn on this Reaper, I do have some idols in here. Increased damage while transformed and increased damage while transformed. So that's kind of nice. And we'll just go around and get some of those up. You'll see the... I'm basically just spamming the spirit over and cool down. Okay, so now we have the 3 out. Probably be pushed too much there. Is that it? So that wasn't So, as you can see, that tooltip is now 41,000 or so. When I have the Reaper form on, we'll throw that back up again. Wandering Spirits goes up and whatnot. So that's pretty much the build. Just walk around, spam Spirit Plague as your Wandering Spirits and your Death Seal come off cooldown. Just spam those out. Again, these have massive cooldown reductions due to the gear. I could push that even further if I wanted to go the opal rings on here and here, and then once I have enough LP on these 2 uniques, then I could try to get that pushed onto actually no yeah, so I mean, maybe putting something on this to make it make sense to have those 2 uniques there. And the reason I don't have 2 is this one is a lot more damage than having 2 of these rings at this point. So again, it's kind of mid-build, if you will. I'm just kind of starter. I maybe put 6-7 hours into this, so any questions, feel free to mention stuff down in the comments. However, I think this is just going to take it to where it is for this, and it's a proof of concept around this Rotmind. So hope you enjoy. Have a great day.